yes.
Before and
Yeah,
after.
no, I can't.
All right. Welcome back. So 5 minutes is 5 minutes. You get used to the term ish in this class pretty comfortably. I want to answer Kelly's question about the quizzes, the non-mandatoriness of the quizzes and how they affect your grade. I want to make sure you guys understand that. So if you go out to grading policy, you might never use this page again because I send you every week a progress report so you know how you're doing, so you might not ever have to go to this page. And it tells you on there what your letter grade is at any given point. But if you want to kind of figure out how you have to do it in a class, I've given you a grading calculator down here at the bottom. So it's nice to come up with hypotheticals on the first day to kind of show you how the quizzes work. So let's just make a hypothetical. Let's say we're in week 6, and you've taken one exam, and you've done 2 projects by then. Quizzes. How many quizzes do you think you've done by week 6?
6.
All 6 of them. Well, maybe even more, but let's just say 6 for the time being. 6 for the time being. Because there might be more than 6 offered, but actually I can guarantee there'll be like 12 or 13 offered by then. But let's say you've done 6 of them. Okay, so how'd you do on the exam out of 100 points? How'd you do?
94.
94, 93, 93.5. There you go, average. Beautiful. Projects, 25 points. What'd you get?
25.
25. What else? 23. That's a very popular answer when I ever ask for 23. You don't want to get 100. 90, whatever that is. Quizzes, out of 10, what'd you get?
10.
10? Yeah. But you had 6 of them, so what else did you get?
8.
8? Another 10? Maybe another 10? How about a 1? Because you just had a really crappy night. And then you had another, maybe like an 8 there again. So right now, you are sitting on an 89.7, which is damn close to a 90, which would be an A, but I don't round anything. Excel takes care of all the computations. That would just be a B+ in here. What I want to talk about is that this quiz right here, the reason I do assessments the way I do is because I want to make sure you guys have all the time in the world that you need, not all the time in the world, but as much time as you need to get stuff done and turned in your best possible work. If you walk in that day and you know that quiz sucks, you just know it's terrible. You didn't get a chance to proof it or talk to anybody in your study group, you didn't use any online resources, you didn't even bother looking at what the quiz was about, you just started filling out numbers, x equals 3. You just knew it was a crappy quiz. You have a choice. You don't have to turn that quiz in on week 6. You can just change your number of quizzes to 5 and not turn that one in and recalculate your average, and it jumps up by almost 4 points. So that's the benefit of not doing a quiz that sucks. It's going to raise your average. Okay? There's 2 ways to raise your average in this class. Kick more butt, or kick less butt less. Yes, that makes sense. That was kicking less butt less. A 1 out of 10 on a quiz is not kicking butt. So take away the not kicking butt. Remove the absence of kicking butt. And your average goes up. Now obviously, the best thing that you want to do is to get a perfect score on that quiz. That would be ideal, right? Watch your average now. It popped up a smidge. It went up a teeny little bit. I mean, it's a little bit higher than not turning in a crappy quiz. So what I just did right there, you'll have the opportunity to do at some point during the term. I have what's called a rainy day quiz coupon. I'll talk more about this later. But it allows you to take one quiz that you didn't do as well as you hoped on and resubmit it to get the full 10 points on it. So most students don't use that until week 10, once they got all their quizzes laying out in front of them and they say, ooh, I got a 2 on that one, let's fix that 2. And then it makes the most sense to use that. So that's something else to think about. You can either not turn the quiz in at all, or you can turn it in, get a crappy grade on it, and then resubmit a better work later. You can only do it for one quiz, and at the end of the term, you're talking about 10 points over how many? 400 or 450 points. It's not a huge chunk of points. But for some reason, the psychological of fixing a 1 and making it a 10 makes students happy, and it makes me happy educationally because you're going back and looking at what you did wrong the first time and fixing it and learning something from it. My evil plan to make you learn. So that kind of works out pretty well. So that's where the quizzes help. Now, when Kelly talked about extra credit on the quizzes, I'm going to go ahead and change this 6 to a 12. Let's just say you've done 12 quizzes instead of 6. And let's just give you some 10s. 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I have enough things right now. 15. Okay, you can see what's happening to your average as you kick butt on the quizzes. Your average keeps going up because that's the point. If your quizzes are good, they're going to pull the average towards the percentage of those quizzes. So a 10 out of 10 on a quiz is, if you will, 100% completion. It's going to pull your overall course average towards that 100 as you continue completion in those 100%. Of course, the converse also works, doesn't it? Suppose you've done 17 quizzes by the end, and you got a bunch of 1s and 2s on them. Oops, not 21. That would actually be really good. Okay? The converse also works. Whereas if you start tanking quizzes, your average is going to follow those. So basically, the quizzes, if you do well on them, devalue the exams and the projects, and your overall average tends to trail them. That's why they're a good thing. So they're extra credit in that respect, but as soon as you hand me a quiz, you have agreed to let me grade it. Does that make sense? So it becomes a function of your grade becomes a function of that quiz as well. Not to use the word function, because I think it's 111 students like acid indigestion. So cool. Does that make sense? Ish. Any questions on that? You'll get used to it. You will get used to it. It's a nice grading system. It requires a lot on your part because you have to keep track of stuff. But then again, weekly progress reports will remind you about what you have to keep track of and what you're doing, what you're expecting to do. Cool. All right. Good. Enough of that. These last few pages, you might not ever go to them. I think you will go to this one, the rules hints page. This is kind of what you think of when you think about a syllabus. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not. And I'm not going to read it to you because you're already half asleep and it's going to put you completely asleep. So instead, on the schedule page, that quiz that's due on Thursday is a true-false quiz about that page. If you took me last term, I think it's the exact same one. Pretty sure I didn't change anything. I think it's exactly the same. No, don't put, you resubmit the quiz though if you want to do that. It's just a true-false to make you go in and read that. It's the only non-mathematical quiz we'll have this term. But I wanted to give you something to get that ball started about getting quizzes turned in. And it's just a way of getting you used to bringing stuff to class on Thursday, starting to submit things. You'll be submitting things probably like 3 days out of 4 or 2 days out of 4 in the class, just to kind of prime that action. So just a true-false quiz. Every single one of these questions can be answered from that page. So that way you read it and I give you points for doing it. That way you'll actually do it. So, yeah. Please, Andrew.
With these quizzes, do you print them out, do the work, and then bring them in?
Thank you for that question. It's a great question. You don't have to. You can print the quizzes, the projects, the exams out, do them, and then bring them in, or you can do them on scrap paper. Totally fine too. Your choice. I don't want to require you to print something because that seems like a lot of money eventually at the end of the day. Please.
So you just put one true.
Exactly. And the other quizzes will be more interesting, like create the distribution, find the average, draw a histogram. This is like seriously one true, two true. TF is like, yeah, as long as I can read it, that's all, yeah. I apologize for the simplicity of this one. It's just, like I said, to prime the pump, to prime the action of getting you guys turning things in. But you don't have to print them. You can do it on a piece of scrap paper. Try to make it I have learned this statistically. A few years ago, I made the comment, yeah, just rip a piece of paper out of your book and write them on that. People were tearing out like pages like this big and doing it on that. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'm a hippie, that's fine. But then they started getting lost. So until I get the whole electronic submission thing, try to use like a full piece of paper. If you go to the recycle bin and pull something out of that, that's totally fine. But just make sure it's like a full-size piece of paper. For some reason, the little ones get lost as I move around the campus. So, make sense? There's your first quiz. First one of 10. Let's do it. Most students do the first one. Pretty much guaranteed 10 points. What else? Enrichment, you might never go here, or you might. It depends. I've collected math links that students have told me they've used to help them with their math classes. This was back when I was teaching pre-calc math too. So some of the stuff is more calc-based than statistics-based. But every one of these things has statistics linked in it. Khan Academy is pretty fun. I'm actually modeling what I'm doing video-wise to what Khan is doing. The difference is he's pretty much just doing traditional topics on video where I'm doing sort of a-traditional topics. So it's nice and complementary. So you can use mine and his. We've got some TI resources here. Oh, I highlighted that. That's annoying to look at now. There we go. Drexel University has Purple Math and Hippocampus, were told me by other people. So, I personally think Google is the best resource ever. As far as I need to know how to do something. I cannot find the average of a frequency distribution. Boom. Well, now you can, because Google returned 1.2 billion websites. And the first few are probably going to be really, really good ones. So, Google's great. I felt stupid putting a Google link up there. The link to Google seems almost redundant. So, more TI stuff here. This, every once in a blue moon, and when I say that I mean like once a week, you'll hear me say something like, and if you're interested in why, the enrichment page has an explanation for you. Like, for example, things like more math-based solutions. I've learned not to do these things in class because maybe 2 students in 30 want to know the math behind it, and the other 28 are perfectly happy to kind of accept that it works. And as a mathematician, I'm torn both ways. Like, as an educator, I'm like, I want everybody to be happy. And as a mathematician, I'm like, no, I want you to do math. And then I realized that, like, a lot of you guys aren't, you don't, as long as it works, you're okay. It's like your cell phone. You turn your cell phone and it works. You don't have to know why it works, why the ones and zeros do what they do. It just works. So what I've done is I've buried the whys on this page, and I'll be making more videos too this term on Fridays for more of the whys. So if you need more of a video presentation versus a written presentation, an equational presentation. But you'll explain, I'll explain these things in class quickly, and then I'll say if you need more, this is the page where more lives. Some people will never use this page. Some people swear by it. I had a student last term say, thank God for that page. Thank God for that page. You didn't need that page to pass the class. She's like, yeah, but I fell in love with statistics. Oh, Jesus, tear. That's great, because if you combine what we do in class with this, you've got like a calc-based statistics class. Yes, Aaron.
Was that available on 105?
No, because 105 doesn't have this yet. I haven't built this for 105 yet. I'm working on 105, unfortunately, is because I picked up 105 2 years ago, is about 18 years behind the curve on what I'm building for it. So I'm slowly accumulating this stuff. There was an enrichment page for 105. Oh, this is great. This is making me happy. It's there for you. If you go to 105, it does exist, my friend. Whoops. It does exist. It's just nowhere near as thorough.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's no justifications. Stay tuned. I mean, you've got some links down here, but precious little compared to what 243 and 244 have. And because I'm not allowed to call 105 a pre-stat course yet, I can't link this directly into 243 and 244. But anyway, you got it now, so yay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for liking it. And then everything else, outcomes, we already talked about that. And college policies is just what I have to have on the syllabus. So that, my friends, is kind of the way I run 243 in a nutshell. Can you live with it?
Yes.
I know you can. I know you can. Do you think you can? I think you can. So what I want to do with the remainder of the time we have, first ask questions. You guys have any questions, residual questions about any piece of this? Please, please, tell me your name.
Final, Zach.
Yeah, Zach, go ahead.
Do you have finals?
It's the second exam.
Okay.
It's due on, I have to have you in this room on that day, so you will bring in that assessment on that day, and then I'll have something for us to do, but it won't be like a final exam. It'll be, last term was a survey, where I did a customized survey for your class to find out some things about it. It might be that. It might be a circle the wagons kind of thing. It'll be a very low stress experience, I promise you that. But it's oh, you're welcome. It's ridiculous. Final exams are dumb, on the record. But a constant, let me ask you a question. From a logical point of view, what makes more sense? Giving you constant assessments all through a course, or giving you one in the middle and one at the end? Why? I agree with you, Janelle. Why do you think that makes more sense?
It's just, you're being quizzed on something that you just learned. And why should you have to wait until the very end to be quizzed? Something you learned 10 weeks ago.
This is good. And I am nodding to it a little bit with those 2 exams. Those 2 exams are catch-alls for everything before them. So exam number 1 basically stretches back all the way to this moment right now. And exam number 2 will stretch back all the way to this moment right now too. But it's not a final in the traditional sense in that you'll have 3+ weeks to work on it. And you'll have all the resources at your disposal, as opposed to trying to regurgitate stuff down on a page. I'm totally fit final exam, of course, different animal. Would never substitute that for anything. But as far as the statistics class, I just think it's ridiculous. It's my opinion, and hopefully you guys are to the point. Janelle, I agree with you. Research shows what you said to be true over and over again, that it's been collected. This little tiny chunking of it. Have you guys ever heard of something called the forgetting curve? You've heard of the learning curve, I'm sure. You ever heard of the forgetting curve? Let me take a little pause here for a second, show this to you. So it looks like this. This was done back, it was a German dude, I forget the guy's name, great last name. Basically, here's time, and here's percent retention. So as soon as you get done something at time 0, you've learned something, time 0, the end of this class, boom, time 0. you've got essentially 100% of that material learned. What happens as time goes on and you stop constantly practicing how to do that? What happens? Yes! And it turns out being something that's called a logistic curve, which you guys studied back in 105, logistic curves. It's asymptotic at around 20%, which means you'll never forget everything, but you'll forget almost everything. If you stop practicing. If you stop practicing. You forget it very quickly and then it levels off at about 20. Is there a way to fight the forgetting curve?
Doing it.
Yes, keep moving where 0 is. Make you do something else here so 0 becomes here, then the curve goes like this. Oh, now I'm back here again. Oh, I'm starting to forget. I'm starting to forget. Oh, assess you again. Oh, I'm starting to forget. Oh, assess you again. I can keep you bouncing around up there between 190 as long as I have to. It's like keeping you alive by sticking cortisone in your knee. I can totally do it. And that's what constant assessment does. That's what constant assessment does. It just constantly keeps you thinking about it, popping back up to that 100%. Yeah, the research shows it, Janelle, and I see it anecdotally. Turn off the term. Thank you, sister. All right. So, any other questions? Thank you for that, Zach. That was a great question. Please, Madeline, go.
I have a TI-783. Am I gonna die?
No, hell no. That's actually designed for statistics.
Sweet.
I don't know how to use it very well. We'll learn together.
Okay.
You're not going to die at all, trust me. One of the totally, don't get rid of it. It actually makes really nice like picture graphs, if I remember correctly. If I remember correctly, which I probably don't. But the best part about doing assessments out of class is if you need something else besides that, you can go use it and then submit what you've used using your other assessment, using your other technology tool. But I know it'll be fine for class. Absolutely. Other questions? These are great. It's definitely a little bit inverted. It's a new way. I'm still in the trial phase of figuring out the best way of putting all these assessments together. But this worked great last term, and I want to keep it this term and pick your guys' brains as we go through too. Cool? So it's not a math class, it's a stat class. So what I put together for today really is kind of a reason as to why